Welcome. Good afternoon, our dear viewers. Welcome to Namugongo Secondary and Vocational School. This is again Teacher Mpendo Cosmas going to take you through our second segment of our presentation, which we had some point back. Those who have been following us or have been following the biology lessons, you must be now very much familiar with us here. So, our topic is still continuing. Like we say that we're going through the senior 2 topic, biology, that is the soil, and we already talked about how soil comes into place. We defined what soil is about. We looked at its components. We looked at its importance. Then I left you in the other first segment when we're looking about, or we're looking at the process of soil formation and its components. Then, today, the major objective of our today's lesson is that we want to look at the term soil profile. What does soil profile mean? When rocks are disintegrating, how do they assemble themselves? And where do they come from? How do they arrange themselves? Do we have that this whole planet is now seated on small particles? Or there is an origin of these rocks? Or there is an origin of soil? Because mind you, I want to bring to your notice that soil comes from the unweathered materials, which are the bedded rocks. The rocks which the planet is seated on, which is the earth. So we want to see how do these particles arrange themselves. And this is what we've come to emphasize in today's presentation. So we are going to look at soil profile. You must make sure, or you should be in a position that by the end of this presentation, you can define the term soil profile. Then number 2, we must also be, or you should be in a position to define the different layers of soil, because we can all believe that the earth we are seated on, the earth's surface we are seated on, you must have seen people who dig very large pits. You could see that these soil particles, they arrange themselves differently. So you want to emphasize how do they arrange themselves, and what does every layer of the soil made of? What are its characteristics? We are going to categorize the layers for which the planet is made of, which is the earth. We are going to describe their characteristics. We are going to look at the horizon A. We shall look at horizon B, horizon C, and horizon D. Those are the different layers for which soil is assembled or is arranged. So let's begin. What is soil profile? My dear viewers, if someone asks you to define the term soil profile, what will you tell that person? So it is an easy definition that I'm very sure that most of you have already some clue about, that it refers to the vertical arrangement of the various soil layers, and those various soil layers are the one we call the horizons. How are the layers of soil arranged? This is what we are going to emphasize in today's presentation. So it is, we're also going to look at that it represents the different layers of the various stages of soil development. The way how the different soil particles assemble themselves, they assemble themselves in the way of the mature ones coming to the top and the immature soils remaining at the bottom. So the way we are going to arrange the soil layers will depend on their degree of maturity. Then let's look and see. We're also going to see that like I said, that the mature or soil is coming from the weathered or the unweathered rocks, or you can call them the bed rocks, which the planet is seated on. In physics, you can borrow some knowledge there, you can borrow some leaf there, that the world or the planet is seated on what they so-called tectonic plates, and these are rock materials, which they are the one that goes on breaking down slowly by slowly, and now the later forms what? The later forms the soil particles which are supporting plant growth. So we shall assemble the different soil layers depending on their degree of maturity or their level of development, or we can also assemble them depending on their maturity levels. So let's look at them and we see. Soil profile, we say the vertical arrangement of soil particles, or mean of soil layers in their various stages of development. So on your screen there, I've drawn some simple representation of how the planet or of how soil is being assembled. You can see the toppest layer which we grow in our crops. If you do some simple agriculture at home there, you can see the top layer there where the plant obtaining nutrients, and you can see that for it, on your screen there, you can see that there are some organic matter which is mostly found on the surface of the soil, that is on the top layer. Then you can see the subsurface A, you can see the debris there. You can also, if you are very much observant, you can see that the top layer is a little bit darker brown. You can see that it is a little bit darker brown. It is darker brown in color. So you can see that we've assembled them from the bottom. Those are where we have the immature soils, the immature rock. At the bottom here, we have the immature rock, which you can call the bed rocks. These are the bed rocks, which are the source of soil. Or you can call them the unweathered. Unweathered. Now I'm very sure that you are all familiar with the term what? Weathering. The unweathered rocks, these are now the rock material that is not being subjected to weathering processes or the weathering conditions. Then, if this way we have the rock that has not been what? Broken down, then what comes after? It is being exposed to what? To the weathering process. There comes again some other subsoil, which you can see from the illustration there on your screen, that we have again these rocks which have started to disintegrate a little. We have gotten some rocks which have started to disintegrate a little, and these ones will form what we call the subsoil. We are going to look at the characteristic of every soil layer. We shall look at them, but let's first have a look at how they look like. Then here, after the subsoil, we shall have also subsoil can move from this side up to around this side, like this. These are rocks that are now being they have been exposed to conditions of weathering. Then up here is where we have the top soil. The top soil is the one that has gotten all the nutrients that can support plant growth. It has gotten all the nutrients, every organic matter that is required for plant growth is found in the top soil. So now let's start looking at horizon by horizon, and we look at their characteristics. Let's start with what? With horizon A, which I've identified for you down there. Horizon A is also known as the top soil, which you are all moving on with, or the one you are moving on, the one you are seated on. So this is the uppermost layer. It is usually about 20 centimeters deep. If you have a hole there at home, you can dig 20 centimeters deep. There you have moved the length of the topsoil. It is that topsoil which is, we are saying that is the horizon A, that is that supports plant growth, has gotten all the nutrients that brings about proper growth of plants. Then let's look at its characteristics. What are the characteristics of this horizon? What are the characteristics of this horizon? One, this horizon is characterized with a lot of organic matter. Has a lot of organic matter. What is organic matter? These are dead decaying materials. The dead decaying materials which are coming from plants and animals. So when plants are dying off, the remains that they leave behind are the ones that forms the organic matter. So organic matter is a characteristic of a top soil. Then this horizon is again characterized by having a lot of what? Has a lot of humus. Has a lot of humus. Has a lot of humus. And what is humus? We are going to look at that one in the details of it. That humus is that darker coloration that is found onto the top soil. The darker brown coloration of the soil is what forms what? Humus. And what brings about the dark coloration is the too much organic matter that is found in the horizon. The humus is darker brown, or the top soil is darker brown in color for a particular purpose. It is not darker brown for formality. It is darker brown in color for a particular purpose. And what is the purpose of the top soil being darker brown in color? The darkness, we all know that dark color is responsible for absorbing what? For absorbing heat. Why should the soil absorb heat? The absorption of the heat, that heat that the soil absorbs, is the one that provides the optimum temperature, which is required for the germination of the seeds. Optimum temperature required for seed germination. We all know that one of the conditions for any seed to germinate from a given soil, then the soil should be provided with optimum temperature. So how does optimum temperature realized in the soil? By the soil having a darker browny color. It means that soils that don't have such a kind of a color, then the chances of crops growing in there or seeds germinating from them, they become very, 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 very less. Then another characteristic of this soil or this top soil is that it's known to contain a lot of what? A lot of living organism. This top soil has a lot of living organism. It is rich with active micro and macro organisms. What are they doing there? The living organisms, micro and macroscopic, they are the ones which are responsible for bringing about the decay of plants and animals. Why should we need living organisms there? The decay brings about formation of what? Humus, and also brings about formation of organic matter, which the organic matter, they are the one that has gotten the nutrients which are required for proper plant growth. Then also, this topsoil is characterized by having a lot of litter, has a lot of litter. The litterings are coming from the plants. They are coming from the plants. So it's containing a lot of litter, of which the litter are the ones which are later decomposed by the living organisms, later to form the humus, of which the humus supports plant growth. Then lastly, that is a characteristic of the topsoil, is that we can talk about this topsoil being made of many root materials. Plant materials are much. Plant root materials contains a lot of roots in it, which we are calling, or we can also refer to it as in being litter. Has a lot of roots, from the shallow roots and even the deep roots. They are characteristic of a topsoil. So we say that the topsoil is the one that is responsible for bringing about proper plant growth. So let us look at horizon B. Horizon B. What are its characteristics? Horizon. So we've looked at horizon A, which is the topsoil. Let's also look at horizon B. What is horizon B made of? Horizon B is also known as the subsoil. What is it made of? This is a thicker, lighter brown layer. It is just lying immediately below the topsoil. It is mostly composed of mainly fragments of rocks, clay, and even gravels. And these are some of its what? characteristic. One, it is highly aerated, meaning that it contains a lot of air in it. And the presence of air spaces, there are signs that there are a number of living organisms, because the air is the one that is used for respiration of living organisms. So there are a lot of air in this subsoil. In this subsoil, since there are a lot of air, also someone can be in position to tell that this subsoil is also containing a number of living organisms, has gotten a number of living organisms because of the presence of air, meaning that living organisms are in position to survive in such types of soils. Then also this layer is characterized by having some little amount of talked about living organism. It is light brown. It is containing air spaces, highly aerated, so it's containing some water. Then the other characteristic that you can also talk about as far as horizon B is concerned, you can talk about also some litter, containing some litter from little, contains little litter in it. Some materials or remains of plants can easily reach this area when you try to dig down there. Then you can also talk about contain little, or sometimes you may hardly find there humus. Then a lot of mineral salt, contain some lots of mineral salt. And how do mineral salts go into this layer? They mostly go there during the process of leaching. And in leaching, this involves the washing, this one here, the washing of mineral salts from the top layers to the bottom layers of the soil. So it means that mineral salts comes from horizon A and they are washed into horizon B. Therefore, this horizon or this zone is also known as the zone of accumulation. Why is it called the zone of accumulation? It's because the mineral salts which are coming from horizon A, they are always washed into, or they are carried to this horizon and they settle there. So you can easily refer to it as being what? A zone of accumulation. Like we said, no humus, so it says support for plant growth is little. You will find there are some roots, that is most especially the roots for those deep rooters. The deep rooters, plants with some roots that can penetrate the deeper layers of the soil, you can easily find their roots in this layer. Then the other feature, or those are some of the features that we can talk about as far as horizon B is concerned. Then horizon C. Let's also look at horizon C. What is this horizon made of? What does horizon C made of? The horizon C, you can also refer to it as in being the parent rock. Parent rock, what do we mean? This is the one that is made of a solid rock, which is found just below the soil. It is mostly characterized by original parent material that is still intact, the rock that is not being subjected to the weathering conditions. And in here in Uganda or in East Africa, the common parent rock we can talk about in East Africa, we have the granites, the volcanics, the sedimentary rocks. Those ones are found within East Africa. Those are examples of parent rock. So those are the areas where we find that have gotten what? The rocks that have not been subjected to the conditions of weathering. Now, for that note, thank you for being good viewers. We shall be meeting in the next phases. Thank you for watching. You can still continue to subscribe to our website, www, as it is passing around your screen there. You can subscribe, you can find a number of our videos that are passing through. Thank you.